So yeah, so obviously we have this Kin No Code Hackathon coming up. We're really excited to be running this. It's our first hackathon that we've done for a while. And we think that this sort of opportunity that Bubble and the sort of no code provides is a really great one, because I think for a lot of people, there's this sort of sense that the technical bar for getting into building apps is really high, and Bubble lowers that. Not to say there's no complexity, but it's something that you can get into without sort of having a coding background. I think that's amazing, and it provides sort of tremendous opportunities. So that's really exciting. A lot of this was driven by John initially, and the Uproll team, and so we thank them for getting us to this point. It's been really awesome working with them and seeing what they've been producing. So I think what we're going to do in this session is kind of go through what no code is, what Bubble is, how it can be used, and the extent that it can be used to make sort of really compelling user experiences for and applications. And then after that, I'll go through kind of what our plugin is, what it can do, where you can get it, and how you can integrate that sort of simply, and see examples that you can follow and tutorial to get started. So so John, do you want to sort of jump in and tell us a bit about Uproll and your experiences with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to share screen at any point, let me know.
Yeah, I think
Zoom will let us.
Sure. Yeah, so my name is John. I'm part of the Uproll team. My other partner in here that was with me who helped develop the no-code plugin, the original no-code plugin, is David. I think he's on the line somewhere. But yeah, basically, pretty much assuming like everybody on this call, we come from a background of not being able to code and not being one of the first people, 10 years ago that was looking to learn Ruby on Rails or Swift or whatever the languages even are. So we don't really come from a coding background, but we have always been excited by the ideas that we have, but always frustrated by the fact that we weren't able to build them ourselves. A few years ago, we discovered Bubble, which is pretty much, as you already know, a platform where you can build apps with no code. So basically, it's kind of like Squarespace meets an app. You're able to run any sort of function that you would otherwise be able to run on any sort of web app that you're familiar with. And we thought that this was just a windfall for us in terms of bringing our ideas to life. And the first idea that we brought to market was a golf gambling app, actually, that connected people to be able to wager on golf and play games with each other. And we had like a Reddit component to it as well, where people are able to talk smack to each other and share their scores. And there was a whole monetization and gamifying of it too. We were really excited about that. And then what we kept on wanting to do is integrate Kin into this environment and build with it, because we have been long supporters of Kin since crypto winter #1. I know crypto winter #2 is probably starting literally today, but we've always been big believers of its economic model and how it essentially works. So we wanted to build on Bubble with Kin, which was a really high bar because we had no idea what the hell we were doing. So we actually worked with the development team to build out an original version of the no-code plugin that you guys are seeing today. Basically, what that does is that it cuts down the development time that traditional developers do to implement Kin into their apps. So what could take a development team anywhere between 8 hours and a week in terms of integrating Bubble, you could install it within one click, and you're able to integrate it within your app within 20 minutes to a few hours, depending on how intricate of a process you have. We brought that to the Kin Foundation. They really liked it, and since then we've actually had over 120 apps, I believe, install the no-code plugin on Bubble. So we're really optimistic about the future, and we really think that this is a great tool for people to bring their ideas to life with Kin. Since then, and since we were one of the first apps or first companies to release a plugin for cryptocurrency, a lot of we're kind of seeing that general trend continue on the no code, on the Bubble no code platform, is that there are every day there's tons of plugins that are coming about that are for Solana, for Phantom Wallet, for Ethereum. So we think that we're at the very beginning of something that's really exciting. And part of what I'm here to do today is simply tell you about what Bubble is all about, and what the no-code plugin is all about, and what are its capabilities. The long and short of it is that we haven't run into anything that Bubble isn't capable of. We've thrown pretty much everything at it that we possibly can. So if you have an idea, I feel very highly confident that there is nothing that you can't throw at Bubble that it can't take. My suggestion would be, I know Blake's doing this currently, is going to a boot camp if you're not familiar with it, being able to, that'll get you up to speed really quickly. And as you're going through this process of building on Bubble, if you do have questions, if you have technical questions in terms of how to do something, like how to create a repeating group, or how do I do this, or how do I do that, please don't hesitate to email our team at hello@uproll.app. We're also in all the Discords, all the Reddits. Reach out to us. We're here to help. We're really excited to see what you guys are building. With that in mind, I want to open it up right away just for general questions about Bubble and the no-code plugin. And if there aren't any questions, we can kind of show you guys what we've built and give you a sneak preview in terms of what we have coming up that we're really excited to share with the community. So with that, I'll open it up. Feel free to jump in. Please say your name and ask your question.
I'm just going to stop sharing for a bit, get that out of people's faces.
Thank you, Nadeem. Indeed, yeah. There's a lot of Kin Foundation members that are on the Discord that are always helpful, including Bram and Richard. A lot of the developers in the Kin community, we believe really strongly in collaboration over competition, just because there's so much room for this new sort of ecosystem that we're creating. And when our success really hinges on everybody's success, and that's kind of the cool way that the KRE works. So you'll see a lot of support in the Discord channel.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here and mention that Jeff, who's like a really active member within the Kin community, has also offered to support, provide help for the hackathon. He's currently seems to have stolen my name, so if anyone's confused why I've joined, that's not me, actually. It's my doppelganger. So yeah, thanks very much, Jeff, and for volunteering and help do that. And so yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, like for people who are building, you know, we've got our eyes on this. This is a really important project for Kin and the community. And yeah, anyone who's stuck and needs help will definitely be jumping in to help out. So yeah, so yeah, does anyone have any questions for John at the minute about sort of Bubble and how they were integrating it initially, etc.? If not, then John, do you want to jump on to bit the next?
Yeah. So let me show you some things that we've built with Bubble and some things that we're going to be releasing. So our first real initiative is jumping into one side of the Kin ecosystem, which is the spend side. And we're really excited to release a few different products in that regard. Richard, if you could allow me to share my screen, I can kind of walk through it.
Yeah. Please do. I'm expecting something to pop up on my end, or hopefully it'll just work.
No, it just says host disabled it.
Ah!
Yeah.
Right. Okay, okay, yeah, this happens in literally every team meeting that we have as well. So, okay, can you try again?
Got it.
Nice.
Here we go. Let me know when you guys can see that.
Yeah, yeah, can see that.
Okay. One of the first products that we put out is called Giftery. And the basic idea is allowing people to spend their kin on gift cards. And that could be, you know, we have, I think, over 4,000 options today in I think around 100 countries. And the basic idea is really simple, just to keep it really transactional, which is that you're able to go in here, pick your country. So I'm based in the USA, obviously, so that's where I'm going to make my purchase. But everything you're seeing here was built just on Bubble. Every single action that you see takes place. And if we actually come back here and take a look, you can actually see the version of the site that's taking place right here. You know, it seems like it's fairly complicated, but in reality, once you kind of get a grip on it, it's really not too bad. You'll see that a lot of the actions, and you'll find that a lot of the actions and workflows that you take in your project there's a good likelihood that they're going to be on the back end, and they're going to be all about the things that take place off screen from the user. So on screen, what I'm able to do obviously is I'm able to click here, and if I wanted to buy an Amazon gift card, I'm able to go ahead and add that to my cart. And by the way, we just introduced a Phantom integration, so you're able to connect your wallet that way if you don't want to deposit into a Giftery native wallet. But I'm able to come here and make a purchase. And we'll see how the blockchain is behaving right now. So looks like it went pretty fast. And what's happening on the back end in Bubble is pretty crazy. So even though on the front end it looked fairly simple, we're running tons of workflows at once to determine, number one, to facilitate the transaction itself. And then we're listening in on the blockchain to find that transaction and make sure it's confirmed. And when we do, we're going back and we are contacting our gift card issuers, and we are pushing that out. So typically it takes about 2 minutes for this to occur. Let's see, and there we go. So I'm able to come here now, and there's my gift card, and I click. And all of this, everything from the email that we sent, the design, everything you can think of in this regard is all powered by Bubble, which we think is just really cool. We're really excited to show you guys something new that we haven't shown really anybody. And it's going to lead to a larger conversation, but we were very excited just about gift cards. What we were thinking as the next frontier is how can we get into real products? So we actually developed a new application called Purple, and the namesake comes from the Kin Foundation's colors itself. And Purple, it allows you to purchase millions upon millions of products directly with Kin. So here I'm able to search anything, and somebody give me in the chat something to search. Anything.
Sonos.
Sonos, you got it. I actually love Sonos, so let's take a look. So we'll actually be able to search Sonos, and let's say I need a 2-room set. I'm actually able to come here, and once again, all powered by Bubble and backed by Kin. So you have to excuse my computer because it's a little slow, but you'll actually have the option to determine, okay, do I want a 2-pack? Do I want 1 speaker? Do I want that? Et cetera, et cetera. And then you're actually able to add it directly to your cart. And you can check out reviews, blah, blah, blah. But you're able to come in here, go to your cart and see, okay, I have this, this, and this for purchase. It gives you all the amounts, shipping and handling, sales tax based off of where you live. That's my address. But you're able to obviously jump back over here and look at the other products that you have in your cart as well. And we have very robust tracking on existing orders. So I'm able to come back to an old order like this, where I purchased some Callaway golf balls because I love to golf, but I'm terrible at it. So I lose a lot of balls. So we actually built in also tracking services as well. So you're actually able to come here as a user and you're able to see that this was delivered on this particular date. And it'll give that confirmation email. But everything you see here, it's all powered by Bubble, which is super cool. Now you're thinking, okay, it's really awesome that we built these tools, but they don't directly help you guys in your building and what you're doing. What we're really excited about is that we're actually open sourcing all of this to you with something that we call Tangi. Tangi is the ability for you guys to drop your own store based off of our Bubble and based off of our Purple and Giftery platforms and be able to sell products within whatever app that you're building and earn a 5% commission on every single sale that you have. And this is built on Bubble and it includes a no-code solution as well. So you can see here, you're able to do everything that you're able to do, but you can actually just add products just by clicking them to your store. And it'll look something like the Purple sort of front end itself. So if you're interested in that, in terms of whatever you're building, whether it be a social app, a B2C app, B2B app, whatever it is, if you're looking for ways to monetize your users, and I didn't mean for this really to come out as an advertisement, but this is something that's going to be available to you guys soon. So we're really excited about that. But some of the other stuff that we built, obviously, was that with our original app links, we built a something that was similar to a Reddit and gambling app that had like location services. You know, we've done a foray into games that we're really excited about as well. Those aren't particularly native to Bubble, but you can produce some simple sort of strategic games or board games or whatever it is that you're looking for. That's all possible. In fact, I really can't think of anything that's not. So we're excited to show you that. It's definitely a sneak peek, and hopefully David's not too mad at me for showing you.
Oh, no, that's so cool. Like that looks genuinely awesome. Yeah, and the fact that it's sort of something that people can get access to and bring into their own applications is genuinely really, really cool.
So I want to open it up just one more time before I turn it over. Are there any questions about what you can do with Bubble, what you can do with the no-code plugin?
Yeah.
I actually had a quick question. Is that built off of Amazon, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so we actually signed an NDA with our proprietary provider. So I can't say for sure, but I can tell you that it has hundreds of millions of products. Any other questions? Why is it called Hackathon if we're not hacking anything? That's a question for Richard.
I mean, like that in the hackathon, you will be hacking. This is the introductory session, so we'll have good context and understanding of what we're going to be looking at. And I'm going to show you some of the sort of basic build tools coming up. So yeah, that's what we're going to be covering. People will have time to hack to their heart's content before the deadline for the submissions. So hopefully that's a reasonable answer to that question.
Yeah. I'll turn it over to you, Richard. So
yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
So,
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, does anyone else have any questions at this time? Okay, awesome. So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so can everyone see the Kin developer docs as of now? Can anyone see it?
yes.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a
Excellent.
developer.
Yeah, not a developer. So yeah, this wasn't intended to be sarcastic, by the way. This is a genuine thing, and you know, we're again coming from the work that John's done. We're super excited to be able to offer space for people to develop with Kin who don't have coding background. And I think, as you can see with what John's been showing, like this is a genuinely like powerful thing that's been made available. So there's no real limits to you know, what you want to build if you've got the idea. Yeah, and as you can see from those apps, like in terms of Kin, you know, the goal for Kin is to become a sort of ubiquitous, you know, thriving digital economy. And you can see with those kind of apps that it's definitely something that's within reach. And we're really excited to see what's going to come out of the hackathon in terms of that. So yeah, so we recently had a big revamp at Kin. It's something that people may have noticed, like docs, branding, the main website, everything has been updated, new logo, etc. And so, you know, this is a really good time to get this hackathon off the ground. And so in terms of the no code hackathon, we've put together a tutorial. So on the doc site, you can just come in, go straight to non-developers. And then if you want to just get building, you can start to look through this hackathon. And so what we wanted to do for this is to have a demo that people could access, and then they could interact with Kin directly on the blockchain. At the minute, this is set up with DevNet. The mainnet solutions are coming down the pipeline very soon. But what we want out of this hackathon is for people to show us that, yeah, they've got apps that can work on the DevNet and they're ready to go. And then we're excited to take those apps further once we get towards the end of the hackathon process. So I thought I'd just show you the demo that we've built. This is not as sexy and as exciting as what John was showing. This is more like a basic kind of getting started process, but it, you know, this is something that I put together, and this didn't take a huge amount of time to do. I think it's relatively tidy looking. I did use a template. Like Bubble has loads of templates, so I shared the template that we used to build this demo here. That's something you can get access to. So again, if you're worried about, well, look, I'm not a designer, etc., there's lots of things that are kind of pre-built. So all this sort of styling, etc., was essentially in place before I came and did anything with it. So yeah, so this is the demo. This is linked straight out of here. And so the Kin SDK is actually very simple. It doesn't do a million things, but that's good. So the level of sort of technical know-how you need to understand what's actually going on, I would say, is very like it's something that you can understand the entirety of what Kin, or what you can do through the Kin SDK here. So this demo is designed to kind of take you through that process. And I just want to show you how it kind of works under the hood as well. And all the code, all the workflows, etc., are also available for this site. Everything's linked from the no code. So in the demo, if you look at demos and starter kits, here's the demo itself. And then here is the link to the directly into the workflow, so you can see what's going on. So with the demo, the first thing you want to do is actually connect to Kin. So this is something that we can set up here. So right, we're now connected. So wondering what's actually going on with this. So we use local storage in the browser to kind of manage the state of what's going on with Kin. So as you use the plugin sends information back into your local storage, and that can then kind of drive the user experience. So you can see when we connected to this, I'll just refresh that so we see what happens. When we're actually connecting, I'm going to clear all the local storage out. When we connect, this is using the SDK, and we're getting this value of kinetic initialized true coming back, and then this can then drive what's happening in the UI. So that's the first thing. You need to connect to the client so you can actually do stuff on the blockchain. Sorry, I'm just going to move stuff. Zoom is dragging in front of my screen. Right, and then we need a key pair. So this key pair is essentially your wallet that you can sort of transfer a Kin to and from. So we want to set one up. You can set one up from a pre-created mnemonic if you've got an existing account. So if you lose your key pair or you clear your local storage, as long as you've written down your mnemonic, you'll be able to recreate your key pair. So let's set that up. So that's now generated a new key pair for us. And so again, you can see that existing, there's the public key, so that's the address we can send to, and then we store the mnemonic and we can show that. So as I said, if you save this, you'll be able to use that to recreate the same thing, so you're not losing access to your Kin. So now we've got the wallet set up, we actually need to make sure that that's created on the blockchain. So that's the next step that we're going to go through, is creating the account. So that's going to use this generated key pair to actually create the account on the Solana blockchain. So we'll do that. And this takes a little bit longer because what we've done with this plugin is we've set the commitment level to finalized. So anything you get back from here is something that is like definitely happened on the blockchain. So if it's there, if it comes back successfully, you know that it's actually happened. There's no sort of sense that it's sort of, that it's pending. So that was successful. And again, we're using this kind of local storage. We have this has account value is true. And that means that you exist actually on the blockchain. So now we're running this demo on DevNet, which is the same thing we're looking for people to build on in the hackathon. So on DevNet, this is great. We can send some Kin. We can have access to some Kin. So we can just airdrop that into our own account. So we'll do that now. Again, you can see this thing changed color here. So we're just kind of using the sort of, we're driving the UI from the data that's coming back from Kin. Now we'll see that complete. So great, that worked. So we've now popped in 1,000 Kin into our wallet. So now we want to send it to somewhere. So right, I'm going to send it to myself because I'm going to hoard all my DevNet Kin. One day I might be able to use it somewhere. So we'll send some of this to that address. So transaction type, this is a concept on Kin that we think is important. So spends are when users are actually spending some of their own Kin on an application. So in an application, so like for example, what John was showing with purchases on the site. So if money is going from the user to the application itself, that would be a spend. An earn is where Kin is being transferred to the users. The users are earning Kin for actions that they're taking in an application. P2P is obviously between users. And this tagging is up to the developer to tag these transactions sort of correctly. And it just kind of helps us understand the way Kin's flowing around in the ecosystem. So I'm going to do this as a spend. So I'm spending, and we'll make this transfer now. And the exciting loading bar is happening. As I said, at the minute, these are all set to be finalized. So this has definitely happened. Great. So that went through. Our balance was updated. And so now we can actually have a look at the getting the account history for this account that I've just created. So let's have a look at that. So this basically gives us a dump of all the transactions that this account has been involved in. So you can see the account signatures are coming in, and then we can use these signatures to get more specific details about a transaction. So I think that was so the last one is the top one. So this UI just kind of saves the last signature, and we're displaying that. So we can paste that, and then we can get the transaction details. And that's super quick. So that came through, and then this is something where this is a big dump of data, so something you'll have to parse, but you can. This is predictable, comes back in a predictable form, so you can use this to generate something much more kind of user friendly. But we'll leave that up to the developers to do this side of things. But you have access to all of that data. So these 7 steps are basically what the Kin plugin does. You initialize the client so that you get access to the blockchain. You can generate a key pair, use that key pair to create your account. You can airdrop Kin if you're on the DevNet, which we are. You can transfer Kin to another account. You can get account history, and you can get transaction details. And this should be able to drive like some pretty powerful user experiences. And it all will basically come down to, do you have a great idea and compelling idea for an app, and then implementing it. But we think there's enough here. I mean, if you think that there's additional stuff, can you program it to show only what you want? Like, yes, you definitely can. So you can extract the information out of this. Like I said, this data coming back for a transaction is consistent. So you can pull out the data on who was sending what to where. I think we've actually got someone who's been working on a plugin, so something like that might come out. It's a great opportunity for someone. But yes, you can definitely pass this and turn this into something more beautiful that you can present to users. So our intention was just to get the data and then let people run with it. So in terms of what the Kin plugin is actually doing, do we have any questions around that? And I'll kind of go in, I'll show you some of the workflows in a minute. But in terms of what the SDK itself actually does, do we have any further questions? Oh, said, please a briefing about Solana. So like Solana is a blockchain, and Kin is a token that exists on that blockchain. So Kin essentially is powered by Solana. So all these transactions that are happening in here are happening on Solana. So if we want to, we can take this transaction here. We can go to Solana Explorer. And let's jump onto the DevNet. So yeah, we can see this actually happening directly on Solana. If you want to get like a kind of deeper understanding of Solana, there are many resources. I think kind of keeping it high level at the minute, I said, yeah, it's a blockchain, and it's a blockchain that you can do a lot of powerful stuff, and it's quick, which is really important. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question at a very high level. So yeah, any other questions at the minute, and before I sort of move on? Okay, cool. So another thing that the plugin does is managing local storage. So this is how we're kind of driving the UI. So this is how the data gets passed back from Solana, from the blockchain, and we get access to it. I mean, you could always go and get that information via these, like get transaction details, etc. But we're feeding some information back into the browser that you can use to help power these applications. So we have, as well as the methods that are interacting directly with the blockchain, we have methods in the plugin that can be used to manage local storage. And this is probably the thing that's most important to wrap your head around in terms of building an app. So for example, when you push to local storage, what you're doing is you're taking something from here and what you're doing is it's called push, and it's pushing it from local storage into the actual Bubble application itself. So when we look at the actual apps here, so where we've got a balance. So you'll see at the side here, we've got this element called a local storage element. So you can just drag these into the application, and we can use these to store information. And we can connect that information to visible elements sort of on the page. So that's what we're doing here. So when we update the last balance, that's what would happen from here. So this will make more sense if I change the last balance. So send would be setting a value in the local storage. So here we can actually update, like I'll just give myself a giant pile of kin. So this is a way for us to feed back into the local storage, and then we can update that value. Sadly, this is not my true balance in real money. Actually, a kin is not worth very much, so I probably need more than that. So we'll stick some more zeros, and then yeah, that's more like it. That's what we want. If only the real world actually worked like that. And then if we want to delete a value, then again we're choosing last balance, so we can delete that. And then if we update a value, we can now see that's gone, which is what we would have expected. And then if we want to just nuke everything, we can hit clear, and then all of our local storage is gone. But like I said, if we had, which I haven't, but if we had saved the mnemonic, then we could have just simply recreated locally. Sadly, that mnemonic, unless I go back and watch this video, which seems like a lot of effort for something on DevNet, we're not going to be able to get back that. I don't know. There it is. Okay, cool. So we can kind of show that off. So everything's been deleted from the local storage. So when we reload the app, we don't have a key pair, but we can use that mnemonic to. Awesome. I'm so happy that, oh, wait, I have made a mistake. I did not initialize the client. I did that on purpose to show you that you will get an error in Bubble. Yeah, so we will initialize that, and then now we'll set this up with that, and then that should eventually detect our. Yes, okay, so account detected. So we used the same key pair. So it didn't create a new account because it didn't have to. Should just click balance there, but this should return from the same account. So I can't remember what our actual balance was. I think it was 750 when we last left it. So I'm hoping this will be, when this airdrop is completed, we'll have 1,750. Yes, success. It's always a dangerous moment when you make a claim about what's going to happen in a demo. Yeah, so that is basically it. These first 7 steps are the steps that are happening on the blockchain, and then these steps are how we're managing local storage. This one here, this push, will be the most important one, where you're going to be pushing these bits of data into a UI element that you can then use to display. So we want to see how this kind of works. So for example, yeah, so this is the demo app that I created based on that plugin. You can see in this top yeah, so you can see up here we have a local storage element. I think that's one that shouldn't exist because it's not actually connected to anything. And yeah, so right, I'm just going to find our local storage elements. Shows I've not been using Bubble enough recently. Okay, so yeah.
Go down, Richard.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, scroll up. Where it says search for new elements.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. All the way at the bottom.
Yeah.
Kinetic
Where
local.
am I?
It's name is Kennedy. Yes, no local.
Go ahead and drag that over.
Yeah. So this is for adding a new one. I was trying to get to my actually existing one, and they've somehow disappeared on me. I'm gonna get.
You can go to the top.
I'm gonna get killed for like not having made sure I knew where they were. They are here. So I'm gonna quickly move over to the workflow. So I'm gonna show you what happens when we click a button, and this will hopefully make more sense. So for example, when we want to so the simplest one is initializing the client, right? So we have this connect button. This is connected to a workflow. So when we have this workflow, we can find the connect button. So when connect is clicked, so we can see how simple this actually is. So when that button is clicked, we do this step, which is initialize the SDK. Which is initialize the SDK, and that's literally it. And once this completes, we're then going to push this kinetic initialized value into my kinetic local storage status. So I've created something called kinetic local storage status to handle the state of the value of status. So we can show that in the app. So this, like I said, just this kind of two-step process. If I clear all the local storage here, reload, and let's open up the network tab as well, so we can see what's going on. So when we initialize the client, that is making a network call to Connect to make sure that it's up and running and connected, and that will spit back the client that can be used for all of these transactions. And then if we look at the local storage, we'll see this local storage value was passed in, and then that is used. We used it on this little kind of loader to show that it has successfully connected to Kinetic. So same with this, set up your key pair in the browser. If we look at the workflow for that, so get balance, delete, create. So when create is clicked, we're going to create the account. And then we're going to update the local storage. And then we're going to push, we're going to update the signature as well for that transaction that was completed. So that's how these things essentially work. So if we look at the actual send kin or transfer kin option, so we've got this transfer kin button. So if we just go through the design, straightforward. So transfer kin, so we can look at the workflow. So we're turning on a loader, so that's the first step we're doing. Then we're making the transfer. So here are the values that we're putting in. We're taking the address that we put in, or the amount, the address, and the type. And those values are being passed in to make that transfer. Then once that transfer completes, we want to update the balance. So we make the call to get the balance. And then we're updating the balance in the local storage. And then we're basically saying that this is done, so we're turning off the loading mechanism. So you can see these workflows are really straightforward. This is all linked from the demo. And this, so if we come in through here, so this tutorial will take you through the process step by step. It will show you how to install the plugin. It will show you how to set up your local storage elements and use those to manage the states, etc. Initialize the client. So every single step that we just went through, I just showed you in the actual demo app itself, is listed in fairly painstaking detail. I think going through this tutorial should take somewhere in the region of like half an hour to an hour. It's not a massive time sync, and when you come out of it, you will have an app that does all the things that you need to do to work with Kin. And then obviously making it into something amazing, like what John was showing us before, is a different thing. That's where your creativity comes in. But in terms of the actual basics of doing everything you need, I would say everything's in here. And if you get stuck, obviously jump onto the Discord, and we will help you as quickly as we can get unblocked. So sorry, that was a bit rambling at times. I apologize for that. Does anyone have any questions about sort of the plugin, the demo, or how you want to get started on a sort of technical level? You can pop them in the chat or say them out loud. It is up to you. Yeah, so we have right. So Uproll is the plugin creator. So there were basically been kind of two versions of the plugin. There was the initial version, and since we've moved to Kinetic, so Kinetic is the kind of underlying technology that powers Kin. We've updated all of our SDKs. You know, whether it's like TypeScript, Python, mobile, so everything. Kin has updated its entire technology stack, and we're currently in the process of helping all of our ecosystem apps upgrade to Kinetic. So as part of that process, we kind of rebuilt the Bubble plugin to work with Kinetic. So that's been in-house, but like Uproll's contributions have been like absolutely invaluable, and their initial plugin was completely the sort of starting point for what we did with the updated version of the plugin. So yeah, definitely that they yeah, we wouldn't be here without Uproll's contribution. It's been fantastic. NFT functionalities. So this is something where again, sort of coming to Kinetic. So having like NFTs work natively with Kin, this is something that we are definitely have in our pipeline. And now that we're moving to Kinetic, that's something that is going to be possible for us to deliver. Like, don't ask me when that is going to be happening. It will not be happening during the timeframe of this hackathon. So the article on the doc site where we talk about using NFTs with Kin, this is kind of getting started in sort of using NFTs for purchases, etc. But it's not sort of natively using yeah, NFTs directly on Kin itself. So, but the actual that is something that we say is coming, and it's definitely a priority for us to be delivering. Like I said, it's not something I would expect to come in the next little while before the hackathon completes. So hopefully that answers that question. Yeah, anything else? Just making sure.
On the agenda, I was
Sorry, I can't hear very well. I don't know if it's my end or.
and integrating some of this.
I apologize. I did not catch any of that. Do you want to try and say that again? Oh, you're on mute now.
There we go. You hear me now?
Yeah, that sounds good.
I was wondering what else we have on the agenda, and if we have time to maybe take like one of the templates that Bubble has and start or integrate something small into an existing template, or is that outside the scope of what we're doing here?
So one thing I thought we could do, so I've set up like kind of a little demo. So I thought what we can do is kind of go through some of the tutorial. If there's something, how long have we got? Like, so we can kind of make a start with this process of integrating an app. So I can kind of take you through those stages.
Sure.
So yeah, so let's do that now. You can close, so get started. Right, so yeah, so here's our tutorial. And yeah, so we want to create an app. So it's something that I've done. I'm going to skip the application assistant step. I mean, Bubble does help out quite a lot. When you create an app, you can create it with a template. So if there's a template you like, then like do that. I think it has to be applied in the initial stages. Someone with more experience than me or Bubble might know if you can. Yeah. So is it just not possible to apply a template after the fact?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's a bit sad, but I guess it's kind of integral to how the app's working. So yeah, so we're going to just kind of skip that. So we now have like basically an empty application. So if we preview this, there will be literally nothing. So, but this is the app as it stands. And then so we've done step one, create an app on Bubble.io. So now we're going to add the Kinetic plugin. So we can go to the plugins, add plugin. We're going to search for Kinetic, and there we are. So I don't know if it's going to be unhappy with. Yeah. So there's the Kinetic plugins. Let's install that. And then if we go to done. So yeah, we're on the latest version of the plugin. And then now we can look at configuring the plugin. So the configuration steps are really straightforward. So because we're on DevNet, we're going to be using this sandbox endpoint. So that's really straightforward. You just paste that in. When you're on production, so we've mentioned that there would be sort of production solutions for mainnet. What that will basically require is just having a different endpoint. It's nothing enormous to implement. But again, that's something that we're going to be talking about in the future when everything's kind of settled. This is kind of part of the transition to Kinetic, and we were sort of in the early stage of getting everything moved over. So we appreciate people's patience on that. We're going to set our environment to DevNet, and then for the index, just so we can get started, we're just going to go with app1. This is kind of a test application that exists on Kinetic DevNet, and you will be able to get your apps into the DevNet sort of on request, but for now we're just going to get started with number one. The importance of this app index, by the way, is so that when an app is on production, you will be able to earn kin from the kin rewards engine. So obviously this is a big part of why people are going to be building with kin, is that, you know, as you're driving kin through the kin economy, you will be able to get rewards from the kin foundation paid out in the KRE. So if you don't put your app index on there, we won't know to credit you for that. So the steps required to register your app are all sort of mentioned in here, something that you should be able to follow through. But like I said, it doesn't stop you from making a start. So if you just basically put number one in here in the initial steps, then yeah, you'll be able to actually start building your app. And that's sufficient, I think, to kind of get running with the hackathon. So we've added our steps. Can I translate this into Spanish or a private document? Please. Like, I've used Google Translate a lot. I don't know if that works sufficiently, but I don't think we are going to be translating it. But if you know, feel free to do with this text what you will. I have no problems with that. So yeah, so I said the first step we want to do is to initialize the Kinetic client. So it would maybe make sense to do this at the point when the app actually loads. So we don't have an app at the moment, but we want to make sure that something is happening. So just to show that, I'm gonna in our demo, we're in the so we can see the local storage. And we currently see that there's nothing in local storage, which is what we'd expect. We've not set anything up. When your app loads, we want to initialize the connected client. So let's go into workflows. And we're going to add an event, and we're going to do when the page is loaded. Okay, excellent. And then we're going to add an action to this. And we're going to go down to, just to make it clear, plugins and kinetic. So in plugins, you will see all of the kinetic actions listed here. So this should be pretty straightforward, I think, in terms of following what's happening. Now we want to initialize the SDK. So let's see if that works. So we're going to reload this. And that worked. We now have the Connect initialized in the application. So that's pretty straightforward. So I said all we've done is when the page is loaded, we're going to initialize the SDK. In my demo, just to make it clear what was going on, I didn't want to do that. Here we click a button to initialize the SDK, but it's just whatever flow is best for you. Probably initializing the SDK is something you don't want the users to have to do themselves. So it makes more sense to do it there when the page is loaded. So yeah, so that data is there. That's cool, but we don't have a key pair yet. So let's sort of move on to that. So now we want to create an account. So creating an account is a kind of multi-step process. So we need to make the key pair as we showed in the demo, and then actually create the account on the blockchain. So so let's go through the set up a key pair. So we're going to make a button. Let's go back into design. We'll try and get this up to this point. So there's a button. We will call this key pair. Right, so that was easy enough. And then we want to edit the workflow and add a step. And the step we're going to do is plugins, and then set up key pair. Right, so we reload this. We should see our button, set up key pair, and then we're going to click the button, and we've got our key pair. So again, that's just a local.
Is this something we should have our users do, or should this be if logged in, if user doesn't have a key pair, generate a key pair?
Yeah, so this flow, like you definitely want to be making this as user-friendly as possible. What we're going through these steps is like what can be done. You guys are the expert app developers, and you are the expert at understanding user experiences, etc. What we're looking to do is make sure you guys have the tools that you can implement. So, and in terms of like the hackathon, obviously having a really good user experience for your users, because what you want is most of this stuff to be kind of opaque to the user. Like, hey, click here to connect to the blockchain. Like, no, you just want to that should happen under the hood. And so yeah, so that's a great question, because it just highlights what you want to be thinking about. It's like this is what you can do, and then you want to think about how you're going to implement that in a way that's great for users. So yeah, I would say that, like, I mean, it's an interesting question, because what if a user has a mnemonic that's been saved and they want to recreate their account? You want them to be able to do that, right? So it's thinking about those steps. So it could be part of the kind of initialization process. Like if you don't detect that there is a key pair already set in the user's device, it's giving them the options to set that up in a way that's as kind of elegant as possible. Yeah, so that's definitely something that we want to be thinking about. Okay, so that was there. and then we want to display the public key on the screen. So this is where the local storage comes in, right? So what we said is that we're using the local storage to drive what's in the user interface. So that's what we're going to show now a little bit. So what we're going to do is go to design. We're going to grab a local storage element. So let's plot that on the screen. So when I've been doing this, what I want to do is make sure that it's very clear which local storage element is being connected to which button. So I would sort of definitely want to rename this to public key, because that's what we're actually saving. Like, give it a name that makes sense to you. If it's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it's going to get quite confusing. So we now have this sat on the page, and then what we want to do is have a text element that's going to contain the public key. One thing I did find, someone was making a kind of a demo of this, and the text box wasn't big enough, and so it just didn't display. So make sure you're, this is where the intricacies of Bubble sort of come in, and we need to make sure that we're using that in a way that sort of makes sense. Again, we can call this text public key, and then we want to set the value of this. So appearance, right? So yeah. So the way this works, it's not like super duper elegant, but it works. So we're going to set this to be kinetic local storage public key values, and then last item, as it says here. So once we've done this, this will basically then show whatever is in this local storage, if that makes sense. So you will kind of repeat this process. When you want to display something, it will be the kinetic local storage as values as last item, and that's what we'll use. And then to actually make sure it displays something, so if we look at a demo, this won't work because we haven't updated the workflow. So we'll set up the key pair. There is a key pair already, but it's not going to display anything because we haven't told it to. The text element is there, it's just not showing anything. So if we go to the workflow for this button, and then now what we're going to do is add the push to local storage. Push. Yeah, so push a kinetic local storage. And the key for that one is public key. So this key needs to match exactly what's in the state here. That's how it knows to get it out. So the key matches the key in local storage. And then we can choose the local storage element. In this case, we've only got one at the moment. And it will push the value for this key to this. And as we saw in our design, we are displaying the last item in this public storage's values. So this should, if we reload, we click set up key pair, wait. So that now appears. So that workflow that we've done there is, like, I'm not going to go through every single step, but this workflow is basically what's happening. Is we're using, we're making a button, or we're initializing an actions, whether it's the page loading or whether it's a button being clicked. We're then doing something with the SDK, and then we're going to update a bit of local storage the kinetic local storage, which is basically the application state. If there's a kind of more elegant way to do this within Bubble, then great, like go ahead. This is one way to handle this. Like I am not a Bubble expert, like for sure. So I'm sure there are definitely like people who know way more than me in terms of how to actually build on Bubble. And by the end of this hackathon process, like you will all definitely know a lot more than me for sure. But the flow is the same. Action on the SDK, push the information into local storage, and then have something in the UI that can display that bit of data. So yeah, and it did work, which is nice. So yeah, so this is something that you can, like I said, just follow through that those steps. Whether you want to view them mnemonic, so the mnemonic is there, is here. So again, you can give them the option. You can have a button, something. So in the demo, there's a like little oh yeah, there's no keypad yet. No, it didn't connect to the. So all these things are just driven by the local storage. So it's getting the information in here, which comes back from Kinetic, and then displaying it on the screen. So does that, yeah, so that's basically the feedback loop. Once you understand that, everything else should fall into place. So does anyone have any questions about that stuff that we'd want to kind of go over?
Is there another storage location, or is it just the storage container we're putting on the page that's going to be grabbing the stuff?
Right. So you mean within the Bubble app itself?
Oh yeah, I guess we will be storing some things to the user's data. Is that right?
Yeah. So like I said, the way Kinetic, like our system, feeds back into Bubble is using local storage in the browser, or in the, you know, local storage in the browser. How you then manage that data is up to you. We have created this option of having these Kinetic local storage containers because we think this is something that people can use, but it's not I'm sure it's not the only option for managing state. If you have a better solution somewhere you want to send that that information, or a different way of getting the data out of local storage and manipulating it, then cool, like, you know, go to town. We've provided these tools because it's a way to actually get stuff into the UI, but it's not the only way to do it. I mean, there are other plugins that access local storage directly, so you could bypass this Kinetic local storage element if you want to. You know, like I said, people who know Bubble better than me can definitely come up with other solutions. In terms of the apps being built, what really matters is, are you using the plugin methods that we're using in the workflow? So yeah, like, are you running, you know, are you setting up your key pair? Are you creating accounts? So that's the only thing that matters. Are you using the plugin to interact with kin on the blockchain? How you actually deal with the information in the Bubble app itself, that's, again, you guys are the experts on that. We provided one solution, which is these Kinetic local storage elements, but you know, it's not the only thing. I feel like I'm repeating myself now. So I'm gonna.
Nah, you're okay. This is helpful for us beginners because we're going to be having users log in with their email and password that they sign up with, and at some point there we generate a wallet, but that wallet needs to come back in the next session when they log back in without any interaction.
So the wallet, because it's in local storage, this will persist. Like if we close that and then reload, like our stuff is still there. So unless they're intentionally clearing their data, that will have persisted. So you only need to recreate the wallet if you're not detecting, if there's no public key and then there's no mnemonic attached to that. So this key is the public key, and then that public key can be used to get the mnemonic. So if you're not detecting that there is a public key there, at that point you'd need to have one, otherwise they can't transact because there's no key pair for creating transactions. So it's not something you'd have to do every time. I mean, you can handle like login, like you know, all that's again what your app is doing. But as long as you have this key pair here, then they can transact. So again, yeah, if they don't have one, they're going to have to make one. But the good thing about this is that this key pair lives in their browser. They have access to their mnemonic. You're not storing the mnemonics, because if you have the mnemonic, then you have the account, right? And so if you're storing that in a database, then like this is a conversation we've had a lot on our end. If you are storing user keys or you're generating it on your own servers, you now may be a bank, and there's definitely regulations in the world that come with being a bank. In this case, users have it. Users have their mnemonic for recreating their account, so they're in control. It's their kin, and this is definitely something we want to be encouraging. So there's a section about this in the docs. So if you go to best practices, and then here, so non-custodial versus custodial wallets. Like what we're generating here are non-custodial wallets, and this is good. The user is the owner of their account. They're the only ones who have access to their mnemonic. You never see that on your end. And there's nothing to stop you, for example, when we talk about the different transaction types, right? So if you want to do an earn to send money to your users, there's no issue saving the user's public key, because that's public. It's fine. You can't use that to take money out of their account. You can only use it to send money to their account. So if you wanted to store users' public key so you could give them rewards, then awesome. That's not an issue at all. But yeah, it's definitely something where you don't want to be generating the key pairs on your own end and having all the responsibility that goes with that, unless you know that you do and you have the technical capabilities and the sort of legal backup, etc., to handle that. I would imagine for most small apps, like for me, that's not something like I don't want to be a bank. That's not one of my goals in life. That sounds pretty scary. So yeah. Anything else?
You guys,
Cool.
if you have, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
Richard, but if you guys have specific questions about Bubble, because I have been building on it for the past 2 years. So if you have questions about a specific flow, definitely hit up the Discord, the Kinetic Bubble channel. I'm more than happy to help sort of walk you through how you want to tackle certain problems or workflows in an efficient way. So any way I could help, let me know.
Yeah. Awesome. And like in terms of the plugin itself, like if there are things that we can add to it that are simple, then that's something we can definitely look at. You know, because we are sort of guiding people down a path with this local state stuff, the local storage stuff. So if there's something that like, hey, if you pass this bit of information, that would make it like 1,000 times better, then you know that's definitely something that we can look at updating. Like it's not a finished product. Obviously, we're not going to break stuff that's currently in flight. That would be rude. So we'll make sure that doesn't happen. But yeah, if there's any ways we can extend this thing to give you more information that you need to build a really cool app, then yeah, we'd definitely like to do that.
That local storage that you placed onto the website page, is that a cookie? Because you said that was persisting.
So right, so there's it's not a cookie. So local storage is just a thing in the browser. So that this exists for any site. Like so apps can use this across any browser. The local storage element that we're dropping in is just this is just a bubble thing. This is just a
that's
repository.
just for the page. Those are two different storage pieces.
Yeah, I'm not like super duper happy. Like basically these things are connected, right? So we've called it a kinetic local storage to try and differentiate it from local storage. We may not have been super successful on that. Hopefully once you've started using it though, it'll make sense. Like we have browser local storage, and then we have the kinetic local storage elements. And the kinetic local storage elements are what you can use to show stuff. So Bubble can't directly display information on the page from local storage. You can write JavaScript if you want to that will get the information out of local storage. Like I'm sure there's a million ways to do it, and there are other plugins. What we've created here with this is our, I say our, I mean, like, you know, this kind of pattern was developed by like Uproll, so you know, we kind of followed their path of what they did on the initial on the initial plugin, and we think it's easy enough to understand. It's a pleasant solution. It's not the only one. If you want to go more in depth, then that's definitely an option for people. But yeah, so this thing here, this local storage element, is literally just this is for Bubble. This exists on this page. But there are definitely things with like kind of repeating, reusable elements. Like there's a lot of complexity around what Bubble can do that we're not showing here, because that's not kind of you know, our remit is to say, here are the tools. This will get you to be able to do everything you need to do with Kin. And then I said, you guys are the experts in terms of Bubble and what Bubble can do in making really compelling experiences.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and I think I understand those two storage elements.
Yeah.
Will be gone if someone goes to another computer, logs in on another browser, on another computer. Both of those pieces will be missing because those are both local.
Yeah, so for example, if you opened like a you know, like a private Chrome window or something, then you know you don't have that local storage. Or if they delete their browser, they open it on a browser on another computer on another device, then yes, it's not there. But what you want is for them to users to understand that their wallet is theirs. They have the mnemonic that they can use to you know, this is the key thing. They write this down. This is where their money lives, and they can get access to that on any device, which we showed in the demo application, where you can use your mnemonic. And that's why that functionality is there. So you can make it cross-device, cross-browser, like wherever, as long as they have that mnemonic, they can get back into their wallet, you know. So that's something like maybe you can tie that flow into like the login flow, or you know, there's something. Again, this is up to you guys. Like I'm not, yeah, I don't want to be responsible for that stuff. If your Kin's not going where it needs to go, then yeah, I'll help with that. But yeah, like I said, John, you know, obviously you can tell that Uproll and John has been creating amazing stuff with Bubble, and you know, yeah, he's going to be really well placed to sort of help with Bubble. But I think you're just seeing what he's done. It's so cool. Like the scope is so large for what can be done. Like you don't need to be constrained.
Sorry to interrupt. Were you going to show us other elements, or?
I'm gonna stop it there. We have overrun, and I don't want to sort of keep people too long. And like I said, the flow is definitely in there. Like what we've shown here: click button, do workflow. So SDK action followed by updating local storage with the results of that action, and then displaying it on the page. And you know, that's what we sort of did here. I think that's like everything that we've just done was sort of just following through these steps in this tutorial. I'm pretty confident this tutorial will be enough to get everyone up and running if you follow it through. I think said that the only thing that's slightly confusing is that the local storage and how that's being managed. I think once you wrap your head around that, everything else kind of falls into place. And then, like I said, as you can see as well with the you know, just to clarify, one other thing is so like when you get balance. So for example, when you get balance, you literally don't have to pass anything in. You just click get balance. It's going to use the key pair that's in the browser, the public key, to get that. So that's happening under the hood. You don't have to pass anything in. You just literally say get balance. When you have to have something where you're passing in information, so for example, the get transaction, send push, learn more, history. Where is it? Where get details. Okay, there we go. Didn't call it something obvious enough. So get transaction. So here it's going to ask for a signature. So the things that you need to pass to each of the SDK actions are outlined sort of pretty clearly in terms of what you need to do. Obviously, the most important one is the send or transfer kin. So again, we can see here, is your destination there? Is there an amount? Is there a type? So your requirements, what you need to pass into the SDK are explicit at each step. And then once data comes back into the local storage, then yeah, I think at that point, the flow has been hopefully clearly established and you'll know what to do with it from there.
Please show me those types again.
Which types?
Transaction transfer types. There was earn.
Yeah. So so we can see all this in the demo. So these are explained. These terms are explained. I think we need to make this more explicit. So I'll have a think about how we're doing this in the docs. So if you go into I'm going to make this bigger.
And I know generally like what an earn
So if
would
we go
be,
into
what
terms and
send would be.
concepts, for example, like an earn is explained. So an earn is a payment from an app to a user. So there's P2P, there's our spends. So
I just didn't
pretty
understand
simple.
why you'd be specifying it in a transaction detail.
Again, this is something actually so the user probably isn't going to want to choose this. This is something you would want to set yourself, and it's just a way to kind of help classify the transactions that are going on.
Does that go to the carry?
Yes,
Exactly.
so
Okay.
so that information can be used there, just to sort of understand how the kin's moving around.
Got it.
Sort of within the digital economy. So it's more for kind of us and the apps. It's definitely not something that users are going to have made visible to them, unless you want to. But
Transaction's a transaction, but the carry needs to know if it's a spend or an earn. Got it.
Exactly. And not to say that some of that isn't kind of analyzed automatically anyway, because we know which are kind of app wallets and user wallets, and so it's something we can kind of track. But it helps for sort of the apps can set that explicitly themselves.
Great. All right. Last question. Where do we find someone who knows enough about this to do it all for us?
Yeah.
We can pay.
I believe there are contractors out there in the world. So,
if you go to Bubble, they actually have a list of agencies that you can hire of Bubble experts.
Oh, nice.
That's a great place to start. The other option is you can go to Fiverr or Freelancer or CodeMap. Those are all great places to find Bubble developers that can get you started.
Yeah, that's a great bit of advice. If you've got loads of money and want to get someone to make your stuff. Yeah, so and anything else we can sort of help out with at the minute. And as I said, we're going to be on Discord all the time, so make sure that you've jumped into our Discord. I believe the Discord link is like on every single page in our developer docs, so it shouldn't be hard to find. And yeah, just come in, drop in. There are a lot of us sort of within the community who can help out, and yeah, we'll try and make this as smooth an experience as possible for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you guys. That was actually really helpful.
Yeah, wicked. Yeah, well, thanks so much for coming. And we're going to be sharing this out. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what you guys build. My advice is start simple. If that was confusing, just try to familiarize yourself with Bubble, and then move on to the no-code plugin with a sort of working knowledge that can make a lot of sense. But yeah, I'm one of the judges that's on the panel at the very end, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. John, thanks so much. Your presentation was awesome, and yeah, what you guys are doing is really, really exciting.
Thanks, man. All right, see you guys later.
Thanks.
Yeah, great. Cheers.
Thank
Thanks, everyone.
you. Yep.
Bye.